Chapter 4. The Meeting of Mee. I awoke when the priest laid me on the cold quartz table in the center of the room. Above and around me was a spectrum of colored crystals. The coldness of the table suddenly warmed. I noticed the crystals lighting up, projecting a light that seemed to fly in circles around me. I heard the crystalline door close as the priest exited. The beautiful Meeram quietly approached me. I gazed into her beautiful violet eyes as she positioned my body. Her warm hands were gentle. After moving me where she wanted, she went to a shelf of colored crystals on the side of the room. I watched as she selected an assortment of crystals. She placed them in a white silk basket. When she was finished, she walked back towards me, her robe rustling on the floor as she walked. She was a vision of beauty. When she reached my table, she looked down on me and in a comforting voice said, "Your pain shall soon be gone, Esser." She reached into her basket, selecting 12 pink crystals. They each fitted perfectly into the holes which lined the perimeter of the massive table. I was fascinated with what she was doing. I lifted my head so I could watch. I was fascinated with her, too. I had never seen such a beautiful woman. She was very intentional in the placing of the crystals. If I could speak, I would have told her how lovely she was. But then I thought of the men who attacked me. Their words pained me. I thought to myself, I wonder if she thinks I'm a freak like those men. Meeram, who had the power of telepathy, heard my thoughts and transmitted hers to me. "I think you are beautiful, Esser." Her mouth never moved, yet I heard her. I was shocked and sat up staring at her. Again she spoke to me telepathically. "Please, you must lie down." "You can read my thoughts." I was overcome with excitement. "And to speak to me in mine." "Yes," she said. She placed the last crystal down and then gently pushed me to lie back on the table. "Now relax, it will not take long." She clutched a clear crystal that hung around her neck and chanted aloud, "Tularo, Tularo, Tularo." The crystal in her hand pulsed with pink light. The entire chamber filled with emissions of pink light from the crystals surrounding my body. She continued to chant, "Tularo, Tularo, Tularo." She removed her hand from the crystal around her neck, and the pink light disappeared. She spoke aloud, "You may get up, Esser. You are healed." I slowly pushed off the table. In that moment, I realized there was no pain. I examined my wing from front and back. The charred wing was now miraculously as it was before the incident. Meeram began collecting the crystals she had placed on the table. Not thinking that she could hear my thoughts, I thought to myself, "No, I am not healed. I am trapped in this half body of a bird, never to express myself with these words that flood my brain." As Meeram returned the crystals to their place on the shining crystalline shelves, she responded to my thoughts. "You have a beautiful soul, Esser. Your vibration is far higher than most in your lot. You are blessed. I know what you have been waiting for. Come." She extended her hand, motioning me to the door. Then she touched the door with one of the crystals around her neck. It slowly opened to a glistening hallway of white reflected light. Like a queen, she walked, leading me to the far end of the temple. Before us was a wide crystalline staircase that wound up to the top of the temple and one that wound downwards. She took me down the steps. It became darker and darker. When we reached the bottom, there was a door with a halo of light designating it in the darkness. There was a place on the side of the door with a pyramidal shape that was lightly lit. She took one of her crystals and touched it with her crystal. The door automatically opened. She looked back at me and motioned me forward. The door opened into a tunnel. The tunnel was lined with gold, which reflected the dim lights set into the walls. As we walked further down the corridor, I could see the hieroglyphics etched in gold. This was exciting. I thought Oren and I had explored all of the temples when I lived here as a child, but I never knew this existed. We walked about 50 feet and there was another door. The door was made of gold and designed with birds, flowers, and dolphins. Once again, there was a pyramidal shape that Meeram touched with her crystal. The pyramid lit up with a yellow light, and the door automatically swung open. She looked back at me, pushing back her hood, and smiled. Come, this is what you have been waiting for. We were entering the Temple of Beauty. I had only heard stories of this temple. I had never been here, although Shiaba had told me of it often. My heart pounded quickly as we mounted the steps that led to the main floor. Only priests had access to this wondrous temple. The building was circular in diameter, and the only entrance was through the tunnel. It was about 40 feet wide and 80 feet high. The dome of the building was composed of pyramidal crystals within it. The faceted sides of the crystals were facing up. The walls of the building were level upon level of hundreds of recesses. It was here that priests and priestesses would come to meditate. In the center of the building was a pyramidal enclosure. This is the Temple of Beauty. She could see the awe in my eyes, taking in the brilliance of the structure around me. She motioned me to the enclosure. This is where you will receive your transformation. This was like a dream. My heart raced faster and faster as we approached the enclosure. My mind was spinning with thoughts. Could she really mean it? Was I going to be transformed? Maybe this was just a dream. Maybe the pain in my wing had brought me into delirium. Maybe she really didn't read my mind. Maybe my wing wasn't healed. I moved my wing to test the reality of the situation. It has to be real, I thought. This isn't a dream. Miram turned to me smiling. No, Esser, this is not a dream. This is really happening. She led me inside the door, which she opened with another jewel on her necklace. Inside the green and white crystal chamber was another table, much like the one in the other chamber. The room glowed in a green hue. On the wall of the chamber, a built-in heart was perched, looking like a decorated box with a gold-wired rocket sitting on it. She directed me to lie on the table. Now lie back and relax. I was overwhelmed by the moment. This woman, who was probably the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen, was helping me. A thing. My emotions were running high. I was so excited about what was going to happen to me, plus my attraction to this woman was so strong I thought I would burst. I had never felt like this in my life. Never were any of my flights with Oren as exciting as this. They had at times been very exhilarating, but never had they come so close to what I was feeling now. I watched her every move. She went to the harp on the wall, and ever so gently her long fingers plucked the strings. She produced heavenly music like I had never heard before and sang. It was not words, but tones. The tones she created changed the green and white light of the chamber to red. I felt very comfortable and warm. The sound of Miram's voice put me into a meditative state. I was completely unaware of what was happening to my body. I just seemed to be floating to the music. I felt almost as if I had left my body entirely and was intermingling with the beautiful sound of her voice and the harp, as well as the beautiful red light which filled the chamber. I sensed the presence of Miram, but my eyes didn't focus on anything in the room. As her voice faded out with the music of the harp, I think I fell asleep. When I woke, I felt my body once again. I was no longer floating. I opened my eyes, and looking down at me was the beautiful face of Miram. How do you feel? She asked me. I stared at her lovely face. I was so relaxed. I could hardly move. When I focused on her face, my thoughts sprang out uncontrolled. Oh, how beautiful she is. I could lie here all day and look at her lovely face. Her violet eyes looked at me like no other. Suddenly, I remembered that she could read my thoughts. Embarrassed, I thought, I'm sorry. I forgot. Miram smiled. There is nothing to be sorry for. Now that you have had time to orient yourself, let me help you up. She took what used to be my wings and now were my arms, the arms of a man, and pulled me into a sitting position. For the first time I saw them. Oh, I have arms, like a man. They are beautiful. I studied my arms up and down. I moved my arms and my fingers, sensing my new abilities. They were strong like my wings. Miram held my hand and looked deeply into my eyes. I could feel her gaze deep inside my soul. There was something special about this woman to affect me this way. Esser, this is only the beginning. Your wish shall be fulfilled. Come back tomorrow for another treatment. I took my new hands and held her hands in mine. A tear dropped from my eye as I thought, "Thank you. I shall ever be indebted to you." Miriam took my head and held it in her hands, which made me painfully aware of my birdness. "You owe me nothing. You never have and never will. Blessings on you and your new arms." She took each hand and kissed it. "Come, Oren will be waiting for you."